Happy June and happy Pride. Celebrating Pride in all of us. All this month, RichardSkipper celebrates those that are making a difference in the LGBTQ community. Never gossipy. The antidote to a sometimes hectic world. Now, here's your host, RichardSkipper.
Happy Tuesday, everyone, and happy Pride. Am I overdressed for today? I'm wearing red, the first color in the gay pride flag, because this celebrates life and rejoining the human race again. And how appropriate is it that this year, at this moment, Las Vegas opened last night, the curfew in New York is being lifted, once again returning New York to the name, the city that never sleeps, and there's so much to celebrate. I hope that whoever is watching this show today, that you are celebrating wherever you are. If this is your first time here, welcome. My show is RichardSkipper Celebrates, because I'm all about celebrating. I'm about celebrating artists and their body of worth. What makes a great artist? How do they get from point A to point B and beyond? And I am so excited that our very first guest for this month is the one and only Robert Bannon. Now, Robert Bannon has a new CD that's going to be coming out on July 2nd, and there's going to be a huge launch party. I may even give away a ticket to the launch party today. So sit back, relax, grab your favorite beverage. It's 5 o'clock somewhere, at least it is here in New York, and join me as I celebrate the one and only Robert Bannon today.
I really have the guts to tell my story. I guess there's no better time than now.
Take all of me, can't you see?
After 16
no
months,
without,
we have a release date.
but I'm too shy, can't speak. The look of love, I think that he knew me, I think that he knew me long ago. And if I ever lost you, from a distance there is harmony, and it echoes through the land.
Happy Pride! How are you?
Pride!
I am so excited that you're here. You're the first guest. I asked you first before anyone else to kick off the month, and you said yes. And I am thrilled.
I was so honored. It's a great honor to be here with you, firstly, and especially on June 1st. Happy Pride to you, Richard.
Happy Pride. Now, normally, as you said to me before we went live, you're normally sitting on the other side of the fence because you and Lee Lesak have created this incredible platform that has different layers to it. But it started out initially as a response to quarantine. Is it Cocktails in Quarantine or Quarantine Cocktails?
Quarantine Cocktails and Cabaret, yes.
Which one came first?
Well, I'll tell you how this happened. Firstly, I'm really excited to be here. I was nervous all day. I have my tissues ready. I'm ready, Richard. I'm already teared up just thinking about what you're going to ask me about my 5-year-old self. I'm ready.
No, don't ask. I am not going to be the Barbara Walters of live stream, although I might be. So.
I did a show in New York City, November of 2019, and the guitar player said there's a guy in LA who has a little boutique label that puts out cabaret records, and if you're going to put music together, you may want to reach out. I reached out to him. I sent him all my stuff, and he said, I have an independent label. I would love to put out your music. We put out music for new artists, and he said, go record it and get back to me. And then look, there I am. Hi. Woohoo!
Yes.
With a little that's pre-COVID weight right there. So
You look great.
you look great. I love
Well,
this jacket,
so
and
I
I
do.
loved your explanation for why you're wearing red. So I think that's really beautiful. Anyway, the day COVID hit, he was flying home from Florida, where he had a
Well,
tour.
let's tell everyone who he is, first of all. Lee
Well,
Yes.
Lee Lessick is not only a record producer and a booking agent, he is a singer and cabaret star in his own right. He has put out a great body of work. He has toured all around the world. He has, albums in France and shows in England. And I didn't know ignorance is bliss, Richard, because I was just crazy Robert from New Jersey in his basement apartment, that was just talking to Lee. And in the way that I would talk to you, I just wrote to him when I saw him on the plane in the beginning of COVID and said, "Are you okay? I saw you on Facebook." I never spoke to him on the phone.
Wow.
I just wanted to just make sure he was okay. He was the only person I knew that was traveling. And he said, "Would you like to FaceTime and to formally meet and have a cocktail over FaceTime with him and his partner, Mark?" And I did, and we did it every day for a week. And then a week later, he said, "What if we did this for fun?" Never did I think we would do 52 weeks of the show. Never did I think it would turn into reunions of Broadway casts. It was for fun. We asked friends. Some weeks we didn't have any guests. I don't know how you do this every day. It was so hard to produce a show on a weekly basis. It's true to your testament as an artist and how much people love and respect you and your craft of interviewing. It's hard. This is hard. There's a timing. There's a certain personality you have to have. You have to listen. You need to react. And it would probably be much easier if we were in the same room, but it was a learning experience. But I made so many friends like you, so many people who watched the show. And I never realized through the year that we were building this catalog and reputation, that we, just like you, could be a place to come to talk about art and promote something. And it's the greatest honor and gift I never thought I would have. I love talk shows. I used to video record my brother, who was the football player in high school's games, and be the commentator and do big commercials and pan the camera to my dad. And he would just look at me like, "Oh, here he goes again." It was always a dream to be the guy who spoke and commentated. So to be able to do that was a great gift. We ended Quarantine Cabaret and Cocktails after a year. Because we focused on the Broadway Cast Reunion series, which we reunite Broadway casts and we give them
that will be continuing, I hope.
Yes, it is. And we give it away to performing arts centers to give to their subscribers so that they buy tickets for the upcoming season and engage their audience in a way that hopefully gets them excited about live art and theater and music again. So
I have some ideas about that I'll share with you off camera, because I think you're onto something that could be even bigger that you and Lee are even aware of at this very moment. Even moving beyond COVID. When I look back over this past year, and it's funny because someone reshared, I guess it was a year ago today, that I interviewed Jamie DeRoy. And I cannot believe that it's been a year since Jamie and I sat down and had that conversation. And I was just starting out and the lighting wasn't good. And this was good. There was always something going on. But I look back at this past year and I think of it as a pause. I've said this on previous shows. It's a time for us to pause and think about the things that we want in life. What I love about you in that moment was you didn't say, "Can I get back to you on that?" You said yes. And you jumped right into the waters, not knowing what was ahead, or whether or not you would have guests or not. But you've had phenomenal guests. One of my favorite nights was the night that you had one of my favorites. That was Leslie Ann Warren and Renee Taylor together.
We sure did.
And what I loved about that show is you said, "I don't live far from you. Let's get together and go to lunch." And you and Renee Taylor, can I tell everybody?
Yeah, please.
They're now dating.
And I'm pregnant. No, and she joked that she wanted to go to listen, Richard, I can't stress this enough. 5 years ago, and I know we're gonna talk about it. I told you could ask me anything, and it's 5 years ago, my life was completely different. I didn't know show business. I didn't sing in over a decade. I'm a teacher. I teach fifth grade in New Jersey. So I'm not hanging out at Renee Taylor at Italy in New York City. I'm not having conversations with you. I'm not having conversations with Broadway cast or singers. I'm not putting out music. All the people that are watching right now who know me through this is a whole new thing. It's something more than I ever could imagine. It was something I ran from when I was younger. So I got an email the next day that said, and a voicemail that said, are you meeting me at noon for lunch? And I was like, is this a joke? And now I'll tell you, and she won't care because it was funny. She said to me, contact guest services, because if you contact guest services and say I'm coming, they'll send us a free appetizer. And they did.
Good
That's
for
my
her.
goal. That's
I
the
hope
goal
she's
of my
watching.
life.
I love this.
I want to be a name that gets a free appetizer at a restaurant. That's all I want, Richard. That's all I want.
Well, trust me. Not only are you going to get a free appetizer at a restaurant, and I can see it, there's going to be an appetizer named after you.
Done. Thank you. Well,
So if there was an appetizer named after you, what would it be?
Oh, that's a really good question. You know, I try to be really healthy, but if I'm Jersey through and through, born and raised right here, Richfield Park, New Jersey, Bergen County. There's nothing like a fried mozzarella stick. I want a Robert Bannon mozzarella stick more than anything.
We're going to make sure that you get that. Now, before we delve into your career and before I go to the 5-year-old self, which we are going to do, we are celebrating Pride. Mm-hmm. And I want to ask you, what does Pride mean for you?
That's a complex question. It means a lot of things on a lot of levels. I think that pride, firstly, I love the word pride, and I love the idea of being proud of yourself. I love the name of your show, celebrating the pride in all of us, because aside from the sexuality component of it and the LGBTQA plus component of it, I think that pride is something that I try to instill in the students that I've had the opportunity to teach, that self-responsibility and that self-love within all of us, regardless. So I think it's a beautiful word. I think that in time, from when I was a child till today, the idea of the LGBT plus community has changed and continues to change. And I love the idea that people are getting more knowledgeable. It's not a gay straight thing and there's nothing in between. It's not a guy girl thing and there's nothing in between. I think as time has gone on, and it evolves, I'm really proud to be able to listen. And if people ask me about my own experience, because I have my own experience and journey in this community, and that I feel more comfortable to talk about it. Mm-hmm. Finally, after way too long, at 37 years old.
There's a reason why your CD and your show is called Unfinished Business.
It sure is, yeah.
So yeah. You said something, and it's so funny, we're on the same wavelength right now. You just said instilling in your students. How do you feel that you instill pride in these kids? And I'm going to ask you a question. I hope I'm not overstepping any bounds.
No.
But are you able to truly be your authentic self as a teacher? Obviously, you don't bring your private life into a classroom, but are you open within your school?
Good question. Depends. I mean, they're going to know now.
Watching right now.
They're going to know now. My word that I use about it is, it's on a need to know basis, but it's not a secret. So I don't walk into the room and explain my personal life. I don't talk about it in that way. But if in the beginning, 5 or 6 years ago when I started acting, I toured with My Big Gay Italian Wedding, and it was embarrassing. I'm ashamed to say this. It made me nervous to post it on my social media because the kids saw it. Kids came in one day and said, "You're in a show called My Big Gay Italian Wedding." And at that point, I was not comfortable with who I am. And it's taken me time. And, I'll tell you what really makes me, when I feel nervous, I'm not nervous anymore. But I'm saying years ago, and I'm very out, and I'm very proud of who I am. And the students, if they ask, I answer. It's just not something that I share, but I have shared it with many students. And the reason why I came out, and I came out in a very public way, is because on stage on my dad's birthday, which is how let's just get it over with, Richard. Let's just say it right on stage to everyone. It's one shot deal. It's done. That's how I handle things. Go big or go home. The students who have come out to me, the students who have felt comfortable enough and have come to me and asked to speak to me in the hallway and say that they are gay or they're lesbians and their family doesn't accept them and they don't know what to do. And then anytime I was nervous to come out or to talk about my truth, I think of that 10, 11, 12, 13-year-old kid who came to me. And if they're brave enough to do it, then there's no way in hell that me as a grown-up, no one could hurt me anymore. And I was a 12-year-old who got ridiculed because of my sexuality. I was a musical theater kid. My 6th grade yearbook said my favorite movie was Funny Girl. I was in a King and I t-shirt. I just marched to my own little Queen drum right at Roosevelt School. And they wrote in the bathroom in spray paint, you know, Robert Bannon is the F word. And I never told my parents. I never told the teachers. I never told the students because I thought if I brought attention to it, it would bring attention to me. So I just carried that my whole life for a very long time, masked the way I felt. And I thought that was what was always going to be. And it wasn't truly, sadly, until I was older and had gone through a whole other life and experience that I saw these students and they gave me courage. I learned from them more than I could have ever taught them.
Well, that moment when that word was spray painted on a bathroom wall, what did that do for you at that moment psychologically?
Well, you know, when you're unsure about your sexuality and who you are, it kind of becomes, you think about, like, I was a very young kid who was not, you know, who didn't have any clue about who I was. So at 12 years old, you think that something's wrong with you. So you try to cover it up and you try to mask it and you try to wonder what you're doing wrong. And it became a thing that for so many years, I would automatically assume people thought I was gay. So I would just, in the years when I wasn't sure or I wasn't out or in relationships with a woman or you know, and that's a whole other story, then I would make sure right from the beginning, I would say, listen, I don't know what you think of me, but this is who I am. I almost became, I would say something before someone asked because I felt like I was branded and I was so.
So you felt that people were judging you from the moment they walked into a room.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, and for so many years, it was something that was the most terrifying thing for me because I felt like, my gosh, you caught me so off guard. Now I'm just going freewheeling and I'm not even thinking, Richard, here we go. I just felt that it was something that I never was sure I was going to ever address ever. And that's so sad, but that's the truth. That's the truth.
So, you know, going back to that time frame, I mean, you mentioned already your brother. Do you have other siblings?
No, I have one brother. He's 4 years younger than me. His name is Sean. Oh, he's going to kill me that I just said that. He's so shy. And he's so supportive and so sweet. He's the complete opposite. He's getting married next year. He's the complete opposite in the sense that he is somebody who he's a true blue jock of a guy, but he had his bedroom next to mine. So he knows every Liza song, every Manilow song. So he's a good sport. He's a good sport.
Now, you grew up in New Jersey. You're from Bergen, New Jersey, not far from where I live now, and you still live in the same area. Did you ever move away?
No, I went to college here. I never left Jersey. I've always been here. I like New Jersey because I look at New York City. I'm 1 mile from the George Washington Bridge, but I have a backyard and a car and I see deer and squirrels and I can go to the shore and I can go to the country and you could have some space. So I like, it's definitely a special place. It gets a bad reputation, New Jersey, because there are parts of it, you know, there's the smelly turnpike. I know, I get it. But I love living here. So I've never moved away. No.
So once you started to realize who you are, and because I want to know that journey as well, since we are celebrating Pride this month, when were you able to step out into that world and feel? I remember the first time, I will share this very quickly, but I was in a gay bar in New York, a piano bar, the Monster, and I was singing my heart out. I was singing Maybe This Time at the piano, and then all of a sudden this guy starts singing with me, and I turn around and he goes, "RichardSkipper, what are you doing here?" And it was a guy that I went to high school with that was from South Carolina here in New York. And the first thing I thought was, oh my God, he's finding me in a gay bar in New York. And then I thought, oh my God, he's in a gay bar in New York. So, and believe it or not, that moment was a shift for me in terms of being comfortable. What was that? Do you remember when and where that moment was for you?
Well, yes. I went to acting school at 32 years old, and I went to William Esper Conservatory in New York for a 2-year Meisner program. And after the second class, I remember sitting down. We went to like a little restaurant across the street, like very much like the High School Musical days where you go to TGI Fridays or whatever and have a hamburger or French fries. And they asked me, do you have somebody? Do you have a boyfriend? Do you have a girlfriend? Are you married? And I realized that they didn't care. I could be honest. And it was so freeing. And it was such a freeing moment where no one judged me. I wasn't that 12-year-old kid anymore. And lots of therapy. My therapist has a beautiful shore house down the Jersey Shore based on my insurance money. Lots of therapy. And it was so freeing to be able to be free and not feel judged anymore. And my parents and my brother, they never had a problem. I built a problem. The problem was with me. It was never a fear of my family. I said it on my Instagram post the other day. I feel for so many people who have families who don't understand, who don't support them, who make them be a certain way or disown them, or these horror stories that we all know people who have gone through. That wasn't my circumstance. I'm very lucky. I've been surrounded by a lot of love and support. So my heart and prayers, especially this month, go to the people who don't have that.
Now, have you seen the Pride series that's on FX?
I just started it.
Well, there's one episode where this woman who, an older woman, said that when she came out years later, to her loved ones and everything, the response was, oh, we knew that. We knew that. We knew that. And her response was very different. Her response was, how dare you? Why would you make me go through all this if you already knew that I was that? But I believe that everybody's journey is their own journey, and that none of us should judge what another person's journey is to get to where, as I say, their authentic self, your body of worth. I do now want to go back to the 5-year-old Robert Bannon. So we are going to go there. Can you tell us a little bit about the household that you were living in? You had a 1-year-old brother at that time, and that may have been a major shift in the family dynamics when he came along.
Absolutely. I was super excited that Sean was coming along until Sean came along because when you have a brother that's younger than you, you are instantly a role model. He adored me as a kid, but to the point where, dragging on your leg and wanting to play with you. And he begged my parents for bunk beds so that I could sleep in the room with him. But I had the room next door and I was like, why do I want to, I want my own bed. My dad is a landscaper. He has a landscaping company. He has no musical talent. There's no acting or singing. There's not a bone in his body. He's kind of shy. He's personable, but he's not the razzle dazzle kind of guy. My mom is incredibly shy. She's incredibly sweet. She was a hairdresser. She owned a hair salon for a long time, changed careers, now works as a registration in a hospital. And they loved music. They loved art, but none of them had, and I shot out of a cannon, like, here I am. And I was at, 5, 6, not 5, but a little bit older. The sheets from the bed, tie them on the awning around the door, fake microphone, singing to Barry Manilow live, having a karaoke machine, reenacting everything. I put on a show when I was 10 in my living room.
What did you use as a microphone?
I had a hairbrush. I used a marker. I then begged for Christmas for a karaoke machine that had the microphone that plugged into the singing machine. Back when they had like the karaoke CDs that you had to buy the whole CD. It's not like now where you just YouTube and iTunes your life. And my parents would come home and I'd be at school and I would just be performing to whomever, just always putting together shows and writing and dressing up. And it was it was the joy that I found in my life. My parents are quiet. My brother is kind of quiet. And the quietness made me feel like I had to overcompensate and have a personality and bring laughter and joy into any room that I'm in. So it just was. That's just the way it was.
You grew up obviously in such close proximity to New York. Was your family a theater going family?
Well, when I was in 5th grade, I did The Wizard of Oz, and I was terrible. And I begged my parents to take me to voice lessons. So they took me to the Bergen Mall in Paramus, New Jersey, to Carol Naso Dance Studio. Hello to my friends Kristen's. I met them there. They're still very close to me to this day. It was between a pizzeria and a Chinese food restaurant, was a dance studio, which, I mean, can there be a better place to learn music?
Sure.
And I had the bug. So I begged them for Broadway show tickets, and I got Broadway show tickets for my 12th birthday. And then my dad and my mom fostered anything that we really loved in our lives. So once a month, we saw a show together on a Sunday as a family. And my family bought the posters and hung them up in the living room and dining room to inspire that kind of culture. If they knew that if that's what I wanted to do, I wasn't going to play basketball, I wasn't going to play baseball, I wanted to sing, I wanted to act. So they always fostered that in all of us. So the money that they saved, they took us to see art. And that's something that I wish more parents would do. Broadway shows are $1 trillion, but there is local community theater, and there is, regional theater that's out there that is really good, and it really helps a lot of people to be exposed to it.
So what was the first Broadway show that you saw?
I saw the first Broadway show I ever saw was Beauty and the Beast. I was born in 83, so this is like 94, 95. And then I saw Damn Yankees, and then I saw Moon Over Buffalo. And I remember walking out of Moon Over Buffalo. It starred Carol Burnett and Philip Bosco, and she was walking to her car. And she walked past me, and if you want to talk about the bug, I saw her, and I was just like, this is my people. This is where I want to be. I want to be in this world. And I took singing really seriously. And from that performing arts center in Paramus that taught me to sing, I ended up going on an audition. Now, remember, my parents were not theater people. So they brought me to an audition for Ain't Misbehaving, which surprisingly, there's no role for me in it. And,
when I came to New York, I auditioned for Ain't Misbehaving. Let me rephrase that. I went to the audition for Ain't Misbehaving.
Well, come on. I was ready.
I was too. I said, I'm an actor. I can play Nell Carter. Yeah.
Well, it just so happened that the guy who ran the program was named Burton Rouser, and he ran the first musical theater program at Juilliard Preparatory School for Kids. And I was in the first class at Juilliard Prep for musical theater at 12 years old. Did not know what that meant, had no clue where I was going when my mom dropped me off at Lincoln Center. But that was my first real foray into music.
Now, when you had that passing with Carol Burnett and the light bulb goes off, did you at that moment, I mean, when you said, these are my people, this is what I want to be a part of, was that something that you told everyone else at that moment? Or was it something that you kept to yourself?
Oh, no. I sung at every mall, every car wash, every 4th of July, every school function. I walked into middle school. I went to chorus class. They said, would anyone like to sing? Yes. What song are you singing? I've Gotta Be Me by Sammy Davis Jr. It was 1990. No kid knew what that was. I just was always, sexuality aside, dating life aside, who I am now compared to who I was then is different. But I've always, this is it. This is the way it's always been. Yeah.
And then when you were 14, you had a major bump in your journey. If you want to talk about that, or should we go past that?
I was going to school. I was starring in a school play. I was going to Juilliard. We had just done a show as a kid at the Beacon Theater with Patti LaBelle. We were doing tributes for Laura Nyro. I was working. I really thought this was my future. I had a swollen knee. Swollen knee became 2 swollen knees. And RichardSkipper does his research. And then I went to Columbia, and they told my mom I had ankylosing spondylitis, which is what Ed Sullivan ended up dying from. I didn't have it, but I had Lyme disease that they pumped with prednisone, thinking it was ankylosing spondylitis that caused meningitis. So my meningitis was so severe that I was homeschooled for 3 years. I never stepped foot in high school till my senior year. I was on a PICC line. I lived in Baltimore by Johns Hopkins. I was on intravenous antibiotics. Instantly, my whole life changed. I had no music. I was not in school. I didn't have the social life. And I think it's an important part of my personal journey, because when people ask me, did you always know? Did you always know you're gay? Did you always know you're, whatever the word you want to use, like whatever. I didn't have formative years. I didn't have 13, 14, 15, 16. So when I was home. So when I was 16, I stepped foot into the John Harm Center for the Arts, which is now the Bergen Performing Arts Center. It was the only job my doctor would let me have, because you sat in a box office and sold tickets. So I didn't have to do any physical work. And I met the most fascinating person I ever met in my life. And it was her, and we spent 16 years together. So that's why when I say, just to go back to the pride element, people's journeys are different. And it wasn't about hiding who I was. It's a complicated, it's complicated for some people. I missed out those years, and I found someone I loved to pieces. So I just thought, this is what I'm going to do. It wasn't until we weren't together anymore that I sat and thought, what's next? What's the next chapter? And who am I really? And that's how I grew to where I am. So it's a little bit of it's not just I ran away scared. It's a little bit of a complicated story. I didn't mean to fast forward, but being sick changed the entire trajectory of my life completely.
And not only you, but for your entire family.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And
we all suffered.
Once you started to feel the energy to get back, I went through a health scare myself in the early 80s when I was on the road doing a show, and I got hepatitis from tainted shrimp, and it almost killed me. And I was bedridden for 6 months, not the extent that you had, but during that time frame, in the back of my mind, I kept thinking, either I want to die, which I really did want to at that point because I was so miserable, or I can't wait to get out of here and start auditioning again. And so that was always there. But as you were coming through an illness like this, did your priorities shift also for you, not only as an artist, but as a human being?
Absolutely. I didn't think about music. I couldn't even listen to music because my optic nerves and because of the meningitis, any lights and noises bothered me. I ended up loving the Yankees because I would listen to the games on talk radio because that was calming to me because I couldn't hear the music. And then when I turned 18, I felt like I was 100 years old in maturity because I had been through this experience, but missed all of this foundation about learning about myself. And I decided that I was going to try to sing again before I went to college. It was my senior year, and I started sending headshots and resumes out. And I got called in to replace the person who was Roger on Broadway. And I went to Telsey Casting, and they asked me to prepare one song, Glory, back before YouTube, back before I could look up the lyrics on the internet. And I went in and I botched the words completely. And I remember leaving and saying, I'm never going to sing. Like, I don't have it in me. I've been through too much. I don't want the pressure. I don't want the anxiety of it. And I gave it up. Just like that. When I tell you one bad audition, fragile coming out of the years that I had just had, that I just was like, this isn't for me. And I just...
Did your forgetting the lyrics have anything to do? I mean, did you go off pitch? Did you really suck as far as the sound of your voice was concerned?
I think I didn't make it through the whole song. I think I froze and left. And it was such a big moment. Nowadays, I forget the words to everything. But now it's a shtick and you could just go. But that little kid, going back to that 5-year-old self, going back to that 18-year-old self, I wish I could tell him it's going to be okay, that you're not judged on one bad audition.
Don't you feel that at that moment, when you went in for that, it was almost like your entire future was resting on that one moment? Absolutely. And I think personally that once you get past that, you realize this is just another audition. Either it's going to happen or it's not going to happen. At least that's the way I look at it. Yep. And then, if things don't work out, you go on to the next thing. That's Absolutely. The way that I live my life now. Yes. So you were in a relationship for 16 years. Mm-hmm. And as that relationship is unfolding, were you ever in the back of your mind thinking of a performing career, or did you completely squash that bug and that drive?
If somebody asked me to sing, I would sing, but I never pursued it. I would sing at local town events. If people asked, I would sing at someone's wedding, or if someone had an event that they wanted me to sing at, I would sing. I was a big fan. I would go see everything on Broadway. I'd see concert. I love concerts, even more than theater. I love the art of building a show.
Mhm.
I love what's the story, what's the structure, what's the instrumentation. What I love a concert. I would support that. But I really thought I'll take the easy. It wasn't easy, but in my head, I was like, I'll be a teacher. I got my master's in English. I got a master's in educational leadership. I got my principal's license. I thought this is a good job. I'll have the summers off. I go home at 3:30 and I'll just leave it at that. And I never, ever thought that I would ever make a go of it again in performing.
Now, obviously, as you're on this journey, a lot of people who knew you prior to the meningitis, they knew that you had a gift. They knew that you were a performer. Were any of them saying to you, "Oh, come on, Robert, get up and perform again"?
Oh yes, my dad and mom. My dad would pay. He's like I said, he's a landscaper. He had a wholesaler who had a studio in his basement, and he would give karaoke tracks and say, "Get my son to sing. Let him sing Christmas songs." And my dad would give them away to people who bought Christmas trees. Or my mom would say, "You should sing." Like they always were trying to get me to sing. Everyone believed in me, but me.
Wow. So what did bring you back?
Well, I was in that relationship for 16 years and we broke up. We got divorced because we were married. And I was sitting home one day and I said, I don't know what my life is like without this relationship. I'll have to come back for another hour and talk about codependent no more. So
that'll be the theme of next month's series.
So I was sitting there and my brother said, "You used to like to sing." And I was like, yeah, and I lost so many friends and I lost so much of my identity was tied up in this relationship. So I reached out to a community theater and my brother said, before you go to community theater, why don't you like really sit and think about what you want? And what if you really gave this a go? Like, what if you really tried? And I said, I'm older. Like I'm older and I these years have gone by. No one knows me. And it doesn't. And my brother said, just learn something, like take a voice lesson again, go take an acting class, like just figure it out. I went to see a show at Second Stage called Invisible Thread, which is now called Witness Uganda. And I was really moved by it. I didn't know anything about the show. I would go see a show on my own on a Wednesday, go to a fancy dinner by myself. I spent over 3 years by myself, no dating, no relationships, no nothing, really learning who I was, getting myself healthy as I could be. And I saw this show and I left the show and I was really moved by the music. And I never had a Twitter account. I never had any of that. And I tweeted the creators because I really felt like I was longing to be an artist and be around artists and creative people. Like that kid who wanted to be around Carol Burnett. I longed for it. When whatever you are at that age, I'm telling you people, it's sticking with you. It's never going away. That's who you are. That's who I was. I wanted that so badly. So I tweeted them and I'll never forget, I was brushing my teeth, about to go to work, to school, to teach. And Griffin tweeted me back and said, it's not about wanting it, it's about doing it. And I was sitting there like, what message was that? And something came over me and I just said, do you know a vocal coach? I want to sing again. And he said, talk to Matt. And a week later, I was at Matt and Griff's house and I did vocal lessons with Matt for a year and we built the show Unfinished Business. And through them, they recommended me to go to William Esper for acting. And then through William Esper for acting, when I graduated William Esper, they don't do a workshop or what do they call it? Like a showcase. So I just booked the Triad and put my show on there as my own showcase. And then it just spiraled. It just kept going into doing more shows and doing more television and more acting and then musical theater. And to make it a full circle moment, I went on an audition for Rent and I went into the audition and it was a regional production. I said, I'm here to be Mark. And I did Mark's lines and I did Mark's song, and the director said, "Is there any other role that can I recommend you for another role?" And I said, "Sure." And I thought they'll want me for the ensemble, and I'll do an ensemble part because I like the show. And then I got the email that the callback was for Roger, and the song was One Song Glory, and I learned it. I got the part, and through Rent is when I really came out too, because I felt like that show, I grew so much during that show, and it kind of felt like a full circle moment for me to be him 20 years later. So it's been a journey.
I love the fact that you went in and said, "I'm here to be Mark." Not that I'm here to audition for Mark, but I'm here to be Mark.
Yeah.
I love that.
That was it. That was going to be
And and then you start doing a lot of theater. And I am going to bring you back for another show because there's so many things that I want to talk about. When you did your show at the Triad, was that original show called Unfinished Business as well?
Yes.
And how did you come up with the title?
I was sitting outside Matt and Griff's house on 127th Street in Harlem, about to go in for my first voice lesson in 20 years. And I wrote on Instagram, "It's time to finish some business." And when I was thinking about doing the show, I wanted to tell my story, part of it at that time, not the whole story. And I figured there's a full circleness to it. And this is something that I've been yearning to do and been scared to do for so long. And it's time we tackle it. So I called it.
So and then you eventually did your show at Feinstein's 54 Below. How did that show come about?
I'm a little tenacious, Richard. I feel like I'm making up for lost time. So I went to see Shoshana Bean's show there when she did all Broadway songs. And I was sitting there and I was like, I could sell out this place. Jersey comes out for support. And I wrote Jen at 54 Below, and I
Pepper, God bless her.
And I said to her, "Do you rent the space?" And I had just done Saturday Night Live, and that's a whole other story. And I had done Saturday Night Live, and I had just done Rent, and I had toured in My Big Italian Wedding. I did We Will Rock You, and I did The Music Man, and I did all this musical stuff. And she said, "We'll give you a shot, but you have to do the late show on Thanksgiving Eve." And I'm like, who the hell is coming to see me then? But if you gave me the opportunity, I will work my rear end off and try to make it work. So we did. I begged, borrowed, and stealed and got people to come, and we sold it out. And I'll be there July 30th. At least it's not Thanksgiving Eve. So I'm back July 30th. July 30th.
I'm going to put that on my calendar. No, this is great.
Be my guest. Please come. Be my guest.
No. I'd love to be there to support you. And I have not been inside a cabaret room in so long. This may be my first foray into coming back there. But I want to ask you, before we do run out of time, and we're not going to run out of time, but for a few things that I want to get out there. You have the CD release coming out. You are doing a virtual stream of your concert. Has that already been filmed, or will that be a live concert?
I recorded it back at the Triad. We did it last month. It was the first time I had been inside. We did it with the full band. They have the room set up with cameras for this purpose, and we did the entire album. But throughout, in that little clip, as you saw, I documented the year doing an album virtually from home. I sung from home. I went to my friend's house who has a little home in his spare bedroom, Jimmy, whose idea this was, who plays saxophone with me. He had a little studio. Every musician recorded it virtually. It's taken 16 months because we all pieced it together like a puzzle. Not one stitch of music on this album was recorded in person together. It's all been at people's homes through COVID.
Wow. And we're going to show us a clip. And you, as they used to say on the Johnny Carson show, can you set up the clip?
Well, in a full circle, I told you the story about Matt and Griff. There was a song that Matt and Griff wrote called I Think He Knew, about a father and a son. And it's the only original song on the album. We shot a music video. This is the debut. I promised Richard I was going to show it here first before it went on YouTube. And it came 15 minutes before this show aired tonight.
Nobody else has seen this, including me. So
this is my pride message. It's a song by Matt and Griff, and it's my pride message for this year.
And we'll see you on the other side.
day he ran the bank in town, by night he coached baseball. He volunteered his hours while I was in right field picking flowers. My dad never minded at all. I think that he knew me. I think that he knew me long ago. And when you know, you either fight or let it go. He let it go. My dad let me dress up for Halloween. He marched me into my first grade class, dressed as half witch, dressed as half queen. He painted me green. He painted my whole face green. He didn't care. I wore my mother's heels, her favorite hair. I think that he knew me. I think that he knew me long ago. And when you love your son, you fight him or let him grow. He let me grow. Time goes on, we grow up, we live separate lives. We lose touch, don't talk as much, my dad and I. Time goes on, we hold back, we don't see eye to eye. We lose touch, don't talk as much, my dad and I. Flew back home to Pittsburgh from New York. My dad drove out to pick me up from the airport. His eyes were filled with tears. He'd been holding back for all these years. And he asked me if there was something he had done. Was I born this way? Had I ever been touched by anyone? Did they harm his little boy? Did they rob me of my joy? And he asked me if there was something he had done. No, nobody hurt me in the night. No, nobody forced me in that way. No, nobody broke my spirit, Dad. No one made me gay. This is who I am. It was something that you did. You did it from the time I was a little kid. You loved me. You taught me. You let me pick the flowers in right field. You held me, compelled me to find someone who respects my mother. Find someone unlike any other. Find a man who loves me just for me. I went and found someone like my dad who set me free. I wanna be just like my dad. I wanna be handsome and sweet. I wanna love on my son the way my dad loved on me.
I'm a puppet. That was so beautiful. Never, ever stop singing. That is just absolutely incredible. And I'm assuming that was your dad.
My dad.
Yes. How are your parents doing?
Woo!
Were you able to see them a lot during COVID?
Not in the beginning. And then we all got vaccinated. My mom works at a hospital, so she's a first responder for sure. She scheduled every COVID vaccine. That at Holy Name Hospital, she's in that office, so she's a hero for sure. And I didn't see them for a long time, and we Zoomed and all of that, and seeing each other now as all vaccinated and safe. God, thank you, God. That has been a joy.
That's great. Now, as I did with Lauren last night, who I love, 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 and he also has a concert coming up.
And that's his background vocals.
Yes,
That's him on there.
yes. Well, I've got some lightning round questions for you. Okay, these are some questions we put together. When did you have the weakest self-confidence ever? And it may have been something that you talked about today. If you want to expound upon that, why you felt that you had that self-confidence that was so low at that point,
Sure.
and how you got through it.
Definitely in the moments after I got divorced, I was so lost. I was over 300 pounds. I was so unhappy. I was alone, and I wouldn't tell anyone what was going on, and I was a mess. My brother really pulled me out. So those darkest days, there is always light at the end of the tunnel. So that was definitely the hardest time and my lowest time in my life.
Okay. And what is the most inexplicable thing that you have ever witnessed?
Oh, inexplicable. Like in a good way? Is it just...
It could be. I don't know. Anything goes.
I have seen some really amazing things, and I have seen some really terrible, awful things. I've seen kids be really mean to one another. I've seen kids be, bullied and fought with, and all of that. But I've also seen great joy. I've seen some amazing music. I've seen some amazing acting. I have witnessed some magic on stage. So I don't know if I have an answer, but if you ask inexplicably, oh, that's such an interesting, tough vocabulary word, Richard.
Well, think about that for the next show. What is the least gratitude that you've ever been shown?
Wow. Oh gosh, maybe they're watching, but when I did Rent, I don't do a lot of musical theater anymore because I'm going to be completely honest, I don't love it. I've had some of the most worst experiences with casts in musical theater. I was gone for so long. I'm not around the scene. And when I came into the scene, I got a lot of hate and bullied for a lot. When I did Rent, it was a great cathartic experience for me, but some of the cast members were really not nice. And I worked my tail off and tried to do the best I could, and they were so mean. So I have had really terrible experiences. So anyone that's watching, that's in arts, that's younger, find people who really support you and don't listen to the noise, because Richard, more than anyone, we've talked even in terms of interviews or shows or concerts. Not everyone's nice at all. So
right. That's right. And I want to add on to that, for anyone watching, that it's not just about what's happening in the arts. It's happening every single day of our lives, especially now. There's a lot of discourse out there. We've got to get past it. Okay, what is the one thing that you have ever made or created that comes closest to perfection? I think I know the answer to that.
I will say I'm pretty critical about my singing. Because I don't get it. It's hard to hear yourself. I love that video. I'm proud of the I Think He Knew Me video, very much so. The message, the story.
I was going to say it's perfect. It's just perfect as it is. In what way do you come nearest to the idea of perfection?
That's a good question. It's not hosting a show, it's not singing, it's not acting, it's not teaching. I really try really hard to I think I'm a really good partner. I think I am. I love love. I love the people I've loved, and I love the people who love me. And I really feel like I was born to share a life with somebody. It's something that sounds so corny, but
not at all.
I feel I love a relationship. So I think that I'm pretty good at it.
That's wonderful. What thing about your family, and this is a toughie, are you least proud of?
Ooh, good question. Sometimes Italian Jersey families. My mom's 100% Italian, and my dad is Irish and Czech. My mother, people don't know I'm Italian by my hair and my eyes, but my mom's Rosa Antonia Demeglio, so she's pretty Italian. We smell like olive oil. I think that, there's a lot of infighting and drama around my family. And, my mom is one of 4, my grandmother's one of 9, my grandfather's one of 9, and we have a big family. There's a lot of issues, and we don't all get along, and we don't always ever get to be in the same room together after years and decades of that. And it's something that is a shame, because, we in life you have your family, and we don't have that. So that is definitely something that is not a fun shining moment.
So I want to do the flip side. What are you most proud of with your family?
Oh, my immediate family, my brother, my mother, my father. My mother and father are not together, but anymore. They have been separated since I'm 25. So we had grown up separation, but we have each other's back. When it comes down to Sean and his fiance Christina and my dad and my mom, we pull in together. We will never let what happened to our extended family happen to us, and I'm really proud of that. And they've let me be me and march to my own drum every day. And I keep it exciting, Richard. Who knows what's next?
And this may be a loaded question for me, but what topic are you the least comfortable discussing?
Well, we canceled some of them today. I don't. I try to keep my private. I'm not ashamed of my private life. I'm not ashamed of the partner that I have. I'm not ashamed of my sexuality or who I am. I do keep it a little quiet because of, like we talked about, I'm a teacher. I try not to wear it too heavy in the world. And sometimes when you let it out in the world, you don't own it anymore. It's kind of, and I'm not, Demi Lovato or Justin Bieber, but I protect those that I love. So I try to keep it kind of quiet.
And my last question, what kind of power do you want most?
Oh, that's good. Can I, I'm going to be catty. I'm sorry. I love to, it may be dangerous. I saw your interview with Lauren last night. He said he doesn't read YouTube comments. No, that is not how I live my life. I want to know, how dare you make a negative comment? What? So I want to know people's minds. I want to know what they're really thinking. I know people think that's maybe crazy. They're going to think bad things too, but I'm curious. I think that's why I love being a talk show host. And I know that you're curious too about people. I'm curious. I want to know what's going on.
Well, I want to respond to that. Yesterday marked the 100th anniversary of the Tulsa Massacre.
Yeah.
And a gallery in Soho that was bringing light to that massacre, because it's been erased from our history books. I didn't hear anything about it until just a few years ago, knew nothing about this history. But the storefront, someone came up and threw white paint on the windows. And the owner, to his credit, said, if you're watching, I'm not going to condemn you for what you did. Please come and let's talk about why you did what you did. And I will explain to you why I think it's wrong. And there are a lot of people out there who do want to squash that. And, and that's another reason why it's important to have a month like Pride to celebrate this. Robert, I love you so much. And I am so thrilled that you said yes to being my first guest this month. Don't go anywhere for a moment. I want to thank everyone for being here. As I've said in my previous shows, and I know I can speak for Robert when I say this, when he's doing his show with Lee, whether he's doing a show by himself, next month when you're able to see him, when I'm doing this, when you take the time to spend with us, those of us who do what we do, I can't speak for everybody. I can speak for the two of us. We don't take it for granted. So you could have been anywhere else for the past hour, but you chose to spend it with us. And for that, I'm grateful. And I thank you for that. If this is your first time at Richard Skipper Celebrates, and as I said before, I'm going to be celebrating LGBTQ artists all month long. So please, come and celebrate these incredible artists with me. Tomorrow, I have Matt Koch from the Rockland Pride Center here in Rockland County, where I live. So we're going to be talking about the work that he does and the journey that led him to where he is. If you enjoyed today's show, and I hope you did, please hit the like button, leave a comment, and share it with your friends. Let other people know what it was about this show that you liked. That helps all of us. And I also end every show by telling everyone to go out and do something nice for somebody else without expecting anything in return. Go to your Facebook friends list and let them know how much they mean to you. Go to the first name that pops up and reach out with a phone call. Not an email message, not a text message, not a private message, a phone call. And this is what I want you to do. And I'm going to put the information on my page. I want you to go and I want you to order 2 tickets for Robert's release party. You'll keep one for yourself, and you're going to send one as a surprise to the first person that pops up in your feed. And we will spread the love further and further and further. And as a dear friend of mine says, we're all in this together, but we're not in the same boat. But if you're going to be out in a boat, make sure that you bring a skipper along. So, Robert, I'm going to leave the screen because this is about you today. You've got the final word. Anything that you want to say about anything that we talked about that you want to build upon, anything that we didn't talk about that you wish we had, or just any message that you want to put out to everyone that's watching now. And once again, celebrate yourself all month long. Thank you.
Well, firstly, big thank you to my friend Richard Skipper. The phone calls I've had with him and this journey of hosting shows, he's been a real inspiration, and it's been a pleasure to have him on my show. And now I consider him a friend, and I can't wait to come have some food with you and kiki it up together. Thank you to everyone who's watching. It's so true that I never for a second take for granted that you could be anywhere in the world and you spent this hour with me. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. I see your comments, and Howard and Michelle and Barbara and Glenn, and thank you everybody for watching. And if you don't know me, welcome to the family. Now you're stuck with me. I hope you follow me, and we can spread some love and joy out there together. Thank you all for hearing my story and letting me be authentically who I am, because it's been quite the journey. I'm going to shamelessly promote myself. As you can see my little face up here, my album is for pre-sale on Amazon. If you still listen to CDs, go ahead and grab yourself one. They'll be out July 2nd. Richard had so kindly said to get the live stream, which is very overwhelming, and give it to a friend. I'm going to give this right now. I'm going to send Richard a code. If you type in Richard Skipper in the box, I'll give you a deal. We'll give you 25% off if you want to buy one and one for your friend, because I want to just spread the message and the music. It means a lot to me, and I appreciate Richard for the platform. So just type in Richard Skipper, one word, and I'll send it to him, and he can post it on Facebook, because I'm really honored and grateful that he would come up with that idea. My message to you is and at the end of every show, if you see me in New York, if you see me in LA, if you see me in Biloxi, Mississippi, I don't know where I'm going soon, but I hope somewhere, and I hope to see you there. The end mantra of every single show I have is that every single person has unfinished business out there. There's something that you've always wanted to do. There's an Etsy shop. There's a frozen yogurt stand. There is a sport. There is a hobby. It's fishing. It's a trip to Italy. It's taking up a foreign language. It's learning how to cook. It's going to the gym tomorrow for the first time ever. There's something inside of you that you've always wanted to do. We all have that business, and it's our job to finish it. And don't be scared, because we've got you. I've got you. Richard's got you. Your friends and your family have got you. And most importantly, other than all of that, you have yourself. So I hope for the rest of 2021, as the world opens and we've survived this pandemic, hopefully healthier and happier than ever, as we join the human race back out in the world together, I hope we really support each other, find kindness in one another, and finish that business. I hope to see you down the road sometime really soon. Richard Skipper, thank you so much. Let's get to work, and I'll see you all soon.